services, and staying informed. And then again, like I said, if there's any hot topics specific to this area, I'm sure we could come up with a few, I would imagine, that are consistently challenges out in this area. If there's any of those hot topics, we can talk about those. There's some other broader ones that I know a lot of people have questions and concerns about, like ICE, mental health calls, fireworks, 4th of July, stuff like that. We can hit on those topics if that's something you're interested in. And then again, we'll end it with a Q&A. Again, you already know about me. Background, I was spent all my patrol career out in this community, Rio Linda, North Highlands, and Alberta, pretty much about 99% of it. Well over, I think, 11 years in patrol. I was lucky enough to work on our SWAT team for numerous years, and then promoted up. And then was lucky enough to come back in my current position, where I'm able to kind of oversee the teams that I was part of when I was out here as a younger deputy. And being a patrol sergeant out here, but POP-wise, I supervised our POP and HOT teams when I was assigned to the city of Rancho Cordova. So I'll turn it over, we'll start on this end and work our way around.
My name is Steve Martinez, and I'm on the Sheriff's Department North POP team.
Officer Matsuka on the CHP POP team. And Officer Cheney with the CHP POP team, North Side.
Sergeant Stacy Fredericks, patrol supervisor on our David Watch.
Sergeant Ed Igo, Sergeant in charge of the Sheriff's Office Homeless Outreach Team.
Deputy Timley Seitz on the North Problem-Oriented Policing Team.
Deputy Laura, Homeless Outreach Team.
Deputy Michael Dennis with the North Pop Team.
Deputy Moses Paredes, North Pop.
James Pinkston, North Pop Team.
Deputy Antonio Medina, North Pop.
Deputy Casey Pido, North Pop.
Deputy Grayson Rodriguez,
Officer Jordan Luna, Sacramento County Code Enforcement, and liaison to North POP and
Detective Alex Yakimchuk, organized retail theft unit.
Deputy Roberto Castillo, I work North Division.
All right. I want to cover real quick what our shift model is. We run 3 10-hour shifts. We have a day shift, we have an evening watch or a swing shift, and then we have a graveyard shift. As you can see up on the slide, our day shift starts at 6 a.m. They do a quick brief, and they work from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Evening watch, which is our busiest, that's our swing shift, that's from 2 p.m. all the way to midnight. And then our graveyard or our night shift comes on, they brief at 9:30, hit the field, and they're out from 9:30 to 7:30 in the morning. With that, you can see there's a little bit of overlap between each shift to make for a smooth transition between the shifts. Staffing numbers, and I'm talking all of the north part of the county, that's everywhere north of American River Drive, all the way up to Placer County, all the way east to Folsom, and then all the way west to the airport. These are our minimum staffing numbers, and I'll explain how we break down our districts. Our minimum staffing for our day shift, that's anywhere between, minimum is 16 deputies in that whole area. Swing shift, because it's busiest, we're gonna boost that up a little bit. Our minimums are 18 to 19. And then our night shift, which again is a little, depending on what's going on, can become a little slower towards the end of that shift, less calls for service. So we staff it accordingly with 12 deputies. Our patrol divisions are broken down. We have 4 of them. You're in District 1. Again, this is North Highlands, Rio Linda, Alberta, Antelope, and pretty much half of Foothill Farms. Our District 2 is Carmichael, Foothill Farms, half, and then pretty much half of Fair Oaks. Our District 3 is we're moving east, is Orangevale, and pretty much half of Fair Oaks. Moving south is our biggest, most populated, and our busiest district, which is District 4, and that's that nice square of Arden Arcade. These are just some quick boundaries and give you some estimated citizen population numbers. And why I pull these up? Because it's interesting to compare the community population versus how many deputies are actually assigned to that specific area, and their main function is to respond to 911 calls. District 1, I'm just gonna cover District 1. I'm not gonna blow through for the sake of time, all the other districts, if that's okay with you all. So right now, these are 2020 census stats. So roughly a little over 49,000, as you can see in North Highlands, drops a little bit in Antelope. I cut that Foothill Farms in half to about 17K. Alberta's a little over 5, and Rio Linda, you're sitting just under 16,000. 2020 census population stats. So for that full District 1, which you're part of, is a total of roughly 136,000 citizens. It's our second busiest district in all of our North Command. What I mean by busiest is calls for service, and if you were gonna say more active, more crimes in progress, stuff like that. I'm not necessarily gonna say violent, but we have, it's probably roughly our second busiest area. So just gonna touch on this, priority 1 calls, that's an emergency call in progress. That's like an in progress domestic violence, that's in progress. That's a highest urgency call that we have. Immediate threat to life and property. That can be subjective to what you're calling in, but the information our call takers get, they're gonna make a quick determination on what priority that is based on the information given over that phone. Priority 2s, urgent, recently occurred, but again, they're serious, but there's no immediate threat, but it's still a very important call. You're gonna get a pretty much an immediate response as well. As it drops with a priority 2, those are routine based, no immediate danger, no immediate threat. That could be, let's say, a car bird that maybe you caught it on your camera, and by the time you go out, you realize, it was probably done about 20, 30 minutes ago. That's gonna be a priority 3. Does that make sense? Because an immediate response isn't likely gonna result, there's really no immediate threat to you, the public, and then to the property. Does that kind of make sense? So that gives you kind of a general overview of how we dispatch, which could affect the response time. Now, a priority 3, even though it's a low priority call, depending on how that area is doing with calls, a deputy could get there really quick if it's slow during that particular time. Or if we have a major incident going on, like a shooting or something that's gonna suck up resources, that's gonna delay the response of that deputy. Does that make sense? Okay. We throw a lot of acronyms out, POP, HOT, HIP, all this stuff, but I just wanna take a few minutes to just explain what those are. POP is problem-oriented policing. Those are back in the day when it first started, were like your community teams. And we'll get into what they do specifically. Homeless outreach, like the name says, their main focus is dealing with the homeless. Then we just created, it's about 6 months old, it's the Sheriff's High Impact Patrol Team. Obviously CHP, great partners of ours, they have an actual dedicated POP team to do similar missions that we have. County District Attorney, we have 2 full-time DAs that are assigned in conjunction with our teams to prosecute those community problems and crimes. Obviously our partners with code enforcement and then animal control. So that's a breakdown of those support teams. And what I mean by support is those are the teams that are gonna be able to come in on the back side or on the front side or be what we call a force multiplier to our regular deputies that are just assigned to be 911 responders.
Quick question,
Yes, sir.
on the 2 DAs assigned, are they just for the North Division or the entire, kind of the Sheriff's Command? Just curious.
North Division. So all those 4 districts, because our central or our south part has assigned 1 community DA, and our Rancho Cordova East area, they have 1 community DA. So it's a commitment by the district attorney's office. They see the need, they know that they're needed, so the DA has broken those up to just be specifically community prosecutors. I'm gonna have Deputy Seitz, he's gonna give you an overview of the makeup, how many, and what POP does.
Sure. So the North Prop team, the problem-oriented policing team, we're comprised of a sergeant, 6 deputies, a probation officer, and we work closely with code and CHP. Our main function is to go out into the community and receive complaints from the community regarding ongoing issues that businesses might be having, residents, things that typically you can't call into patrol and they can spend their whole shift, a week, a month investigating to try and bring to an end. Because like the lieutenant was saying, they're responding to these active calls in progress. So they can very often get diverted from your call to go somewhere else. Our team doesn't have to deal with breaking off to go to other calls. So we can devote an entire day to deal with something or a week and work with the community and businesses to help come to a resolution to that problem. And that's just our main function, is to focus on that long-term goal of fixing the problem entirely. I like to bring up the example of the house that maybe an elderly person owned, and then they pass away and their narcotics addicted son or grandson or someone related family member takes over that home and it becomes dilapidated. It affects your property value. You have people coming and going on foot in vehicles all throughout the night. You see narcotics traffic, and then you start to see your property value being affected. And it becomes a huge quality of life issue for you. That's where you would reach out to the North Pop team to help come up with a solution to work with code, work with CHP, work with the sheriff's office and the community prosecutors to reach a permanent solution to that problem.
Real quick, I'm assuming there's gonna be some longtime Rio Linda residents out here? Do any of you remember if I say the point?
I know what you're talking about.
What do you know, what is it?
Is that house over
Oh,
there?
yeah, it is, it's that house, that was a problem when I was a young deputy rolling around here. Remember how bad that house was?
You know, I never really saw it for myself, I just heard people talk.
Yeah, so it was an infamous house right here on the corner, right across from the park. Can't give you the full background of how and who it was passed down to or whatnot, but a chronic, short stay, street level dope, everything, wanted parolees, stolen cars, anything that was going on in there. That would be a classic kind of your POP project or something that deputies can dedicate resources to, using code, using animal control, anything just to chip away at what the underlying issue is and then finally shut those types of houses down. Homeless outreach team, Sergeant Igo.
Once again, I'm Ed Igo, I'm the sergeant in charge of our homeless outreach team. So our unit, we have 6 deputies assigned. We also have 2 probation officers that are assigned with us. And again, we work closely with code enforcement as well as the DA's office. So for our enforcement, while we're out dealing with homeless related issues, we are also gonna be handling more of like the long-term solutions to issues. If, for example, you have an issue with a homeless individual in a center median or just simple one-off things, we would always recommend that you contact our non-emergency line, and that's gonna give you the fastest, most immediate response to that issue. For us, it's gonna deal with more longer term. We're gonna have large encampments that we're gonna work with to clear out, and as well as working with the businesses and establishing different things like letters of agencies that we have. That is essentially a contract that we have with the business, so when they're closed, if let's say this business tends to attract homeless individuals at night, for us, we don't really get to go out there, or law enforcement doesn't really get to go out there and say, hey, you can't be here and you have to leave. It's up to the actual business owner. With a letter of agency, that allows us to act on behalf of the business owner and tell people that they have to move on from that location. So, working with all of the partners that we have, working with our board of supervisors, and just really trying to find creative solutions to homelessness. And obviously everyone knows this is a nationwide problem, nationwide issue, and so we're trying to do the best that we can to do right by the constituents of Sacramento County.
Again, a lot of the frustrations that we're starting to whittle down of, let's face it, there was a lot of failed policies that were put, there were policies that I think were maybe well-intended that really turned out to not. We're talking about 47, 57, the decriminalization of theft and drugs and a lot of these community crimes that were then decriminalized. Basically, they weren't, it was a hands-off approach. Listening and feeling how the constituents of this county, Sheriff Cooper comes in, and a big priority to him is homelessness. It is quality of life crimes. It is drugs. It is firearms. It is the associated crimes that go along with those 3 things that have been kind of not enforced. Now, we tried the original, you know, it was a hands-off, more of a, oh, this is a complete mental problem. This is a complete housing issue. We realized it was complex and it was all intertwined. So the county has really bolstered their services to address all those things. But what we're finding when the data started coming in was we had people that were just flat out resistive to the services available to of times, when you are high, you're not in, and you're in mental crisis due to whatever it is, if you're out on the streets and you don't get some type of help, and a lot of times that help needed is for a short stay incarceration, so you can get dried out, you can get your meds leveled out, so you can make rational decisions. So we had to look at other programs like our core program and stuff like that to address the homeless issue. But we were not gonna just let the associated crimes and lawlessness that was going along with homelessness to just keep occurring. Does that make sense? So there's an approach to it. Anytime we're taking any type of enforcement action, make no bones about it, we are providing services, we're identifying who really does need help. It's not just, oh, you're homeless, let's find a way to just, roust you and take you to jail. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. Go ahead, ma'am. You had something? Okay. Okay. And again, I'll go on real quick. I mean, we realized that, post-pandemic, post a lot of stuff, proactive policing went away. And when proactive policing goes away, communities become less safe. And, with the leadership under Sheriff Cooper, he's bringing that back. So hence the creation of that HIP team to augment our already out there POP teams and HOT teams. This team, that 6-member team, is out there specifically just to target those higher level offenders, doing investigations, recovering illegal firearms, large amounts of narcotics and stuff like that. Wanted parolees and people on various types of corrections, whether it's probation or parole, people that are outstanding. We call that criminal apprehension. They're out there doing those things. That's the HIP team. 5 deputies, 1 sergeant. Yes?
Question for you.
Yes.
You wanna hold questions till the end of the
Yes,
presentation?
I'm almost done, but if you got one that's a burning desire, man, we can take it. You
I'll
good?
wait.
All right, I covered the community DAs, great question, 2 of them, full-time. Core programs, nuisance businesses, all that good stuff. Ron Lithicum, need I say more? Do you guys know Ron? Has he been out here before?
Oh, yeah.
He's this guy, he's been on over 30 plus years and he has a passion for doing what he does. He's been a great partner with us. California Highway Patrol, I can't say enough, but I'm gonna let my partners cover this.
So we have three people on our POP team, so we handle everything north of the river. So that's all townships in Sacramento County, north of the river. So I'm just gonna go based on our area. We have about 8 units during the daytime, so that will include only 2 units in North Highlands, Rearland area. So during nighttime, we only have 1 unit in North Highlands, Rearland area. So we primarily deal with all traffic complaints north of the river. We'll respond now about 3-4 times. Just be out there for maybe 3-4 hours, issue a bunch of tickets, and then we'll respond to abandoned vehicles, see if we can remove it if you call.
And that's another service that we provide too, is the motorhomes. Those were, I don't know where we're at with those, but we have a budget, thank you to our county supervisors for providing us funding to tow away a lot of those dilapidated homeless RVs. Anything else on CHP? Now that, your staffing, you were just talking specifically about your POP units that are out, right?
Yeah, so we have 3 units north of the river.
Yep.
And then when it comes to just regular patrol, like I said, there's only 2 units any given time in Rearland and North Highlands.
For our regular
Hello.
patrol guys, when we have one dedicated to the Rio Linda, Alberta area, we need our staffing level to be at 10. We need 10 officers working that day, and typically we have around 8. So if you're not seeing one out here all the time, that's probably why. We're short-staffed. If those times that we do get 10 people that are working that day, then we'll have somebody assigned to the Rio Linda, Alberta area. Otherwise, we got 2 that are working in North Highlands, and they're assigned over there, but then they'll also cover the calls for service that come out here, but they may not be actively patrolling out here, because they're obviously gonna be a bit busier in the North Highlands, Foothill Farms area.
And just for perspective, we took 6,000 crashes last year, so how many officers we have? And we gotta respond to different calls as well.
Big guy, you're up.
So code enforcement, for the whole north of the county, we have 6 officers. And we have 1 dedicated solely to assisting POP as well as HOT, in dealing with the nuisance properties. So what we deal with is the storage of junk, rubbish, cars. I mean, a lot of these, you know, a lot of the properties, especially out here, there's generational accumulation of stuff that, how do we best explain it, right? Like, it essentially needs to be mitigated in order to not affect your guys' property value. So we're about improving the quality of life. Where we specialize in is where they deal with the people, essentially we deal with the stuff, okay? So I wouldn't say glorified, you know, garbage crew, but that's essentially what we're doing here is compelling the property owners as well as the vacant, you know, property owners to maintain compliance, right? As far as, you know, them managing their properties. I mean, it's essentially, with the homeless, right? A lot of the times they will find a location that is being neglected. We will quite often compel the property owner, sometimes through fines. That's not the only goal, is, we can find those contacts and work with them to find a solution, right? We're a two-headed spear here, and that's the goal, right? Is just to improve the quality.
And what's come to mind, and I can remember some very successful operations with code. You guys familiar with Straw Road? Straw Road historically had an issue with cars and it was just a dumping ground out there, right? And it was always a big challenge for us. So I know over the years, Straw Road would pop back up, we'd go out there and do it. And we know that Rio Linda in itself is a unique community, right? Where it's located, it's kind of split off from North Highlands and Rio Linda. But again, what I've always appreciated about Rio Linda is they tend to always kind of self-regulate themselves to a degree, you know what I mean? So,
LT, if I could just touch on Straw Road,
Yeah.
actually. So, for those of you that know that area, there is a pretty decent sized hangout spot there down mid-Straw Road right by the railroad tracks. So we just got approval from the courts to now forcibly remove the junk and the vehicles from that property. We'll be going there with HOT to affect the warrant process of that, and that'll be coming up here, not next week, but the following week. So we'll start the major activity of getting that property cleaned up. So it's a common story, right? Somebody passed away, nobody else is taking care of it, right? People move in, they're on the, you know, they get on their network and, hey, this is the place to come hang out. And they do things like start a fire and burn up patio, which happened a couple weeks ago. Where there are dogs that attack, you know, joggers that
Yeah.
come out there and just, you know, enjoy a walk down the street. Right? So we will be taking action on that very soon. The goal is to completely eliminate that problem on that property, remove all those vehicles. It's gonna cost the county tens of thousands of dollars that we are going to have to front that cost. But the goal is conservatorship, right? To where we can directly take over that and eventually sell it and recoup our costs.
Is that the near side or the far side of the tracks?
That is going to be on the east side of the tracks, sir.
Okay. Is
So
that
if
the
you
one
look-
that caught on fire?
Yes.
Oh, it is proper, okay. Thank you.
and then last but not least, is our animal control partners, Mr. Smith.
I'm Jason from County Animal Care Services. We have, in the entire county, we have about 6 officers typically that'll cover on a daily basis. When we're healthy and fully staffed, it can be upwards of 7 or 8. But that hasn't happened since, gosh, I don't know, I was about this tall. We care for about 13,000 animals a year. We promote and support public services as well, public spacing, spay and neuter services, community cat services, adoption services, low-cost vaccine services. We take about 7,000 calls per service a year for everything from bite reports to
again, it comes to mind, I don't know if it's going on currently, but I remember back in my day, stories where we had a lot of the cockfighting stuff that was very popular out here that was going on. What's that?
We still do.
Okay.
But we call and there's nothing, they say that's not a problem.
Oh, okay,
Can you do me a favor, come see me after
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I'd be curious to see who you're reporting that to.
Well, because all we see is the farms where they breed them, and we don't see the actual fighting going on. We weren't invited.
I need to wire you up, man, put you, Steve Hansen, go in there and,
Done before.
Yeah.
If you know, you know, right?
Yeah.
If I could just add something
Yeah.
about that too. That's a really tricky situation when you see the predecessor to an illegal activity or the post of an illegal activity.
Yeah.
And we have to work those, unfortunately, like a lot of the individuals up here, we have to see in action, I think, some kind of proof, something to actually move on. But I do know that there's, the initial stages of some legislation going through to be able to interject into those situations before the illegal activity happens. Because in order to have a fight, you need to have a few dozen roosters. And so if we can get to the point where having a few dozen roosters is actionable, that gives us a whole different set of tools we can use.
It's very obvious.
It is, and there was an animal control agency that I was consulting with in Arizona, and they had one across the street. They would literally drive into work every day and see the huts for the roosters, and there wasn't a thing they could do about it, because there was nothing illegal about having roosters.
Yeah. Again, let's put it back on, how can we as a community, because a lot of times, if we don't get your complaints, if we don't get the calls, we don't know what's going on other than just us being out there proactive. So it may seem like a lot of those complaints or calls fall on deaf ears, but they really don't. Now, I can't account for every single one. I'm just saying, we can't do our jobs unless the community has a level of trust in us that we're gonna do our jobs with the care and concern and competency that we do have. So I encourage you, as frustrated as maybe that call taker might have been rude or what, I get that. I know we fall short sometimes in some of our customer service aspects, but I will plead with you to just keep doing it because we have these dedicated officers that really do want to do their jobs. So also, if there's any people that we're looking for quality volunteer opportunities for our service centers and stuff like that. So if you have to want to get more involved, you can talk to us offline as far as volunteer services and whatnot. And I always encourage anyone that wants to do a civilian ride-along. You don't have to do the whole shift. You can do 5 hours, you can do 3 hours or whatever. But if you really want to see, because I'm here to tell you, there's nothing being hid behind the curtain. I mean, I know that word gets thrown out a lot, transparency. It just is nauseating how overused that word has gotten, but it is. We all wear cameras. We all have cameras in our car. It was part of what I think was a police reform act that we were all for. We weren't hiding anything. But when a certain agenda, what I feel was being inaccurately portrayed, those body cameras really weren't supporting that agenda. So it was kind of funny how they were like, you know what, we really don't need all your body cam footage. You know why? Because it's showing what a good job you all are doing.
Yeah.
So I am in complete honesty and authenticity. I invite you to come out and do a ride along if you're interested. Contact information, when in doubt, call 911. But again, remember those priorities. Don't just abuse it. The non-emergency number. You guys probably already have these. I apologize for the font, but those are our emails. North Pop at Sac Sheriff and North Hot at Sac Sheriff. Those emails are routinely every day are being triaged, gone through, read, and put in a priority order of the importance of them. And then obviously CHP. 311 app, if you don't have it, I encourage you to get it. It's a great way, again, to report stuff. It's not so good as far as people, but stuff, it's great. Thank you. Did I miss anything? Is there anything specific to your community or as a whole that the sheriff's office is doing that you have some questions or concerns about that I can potentially answer? Yes, sir.
Can you talk about how mental health calls are handled?
I can. There was a recent Ninth Circuit decision, it was called Scott v. Smith. I believe it was it Las Vegas or was it Nevada? It was.
Arizona.
Was it Arizona?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted. Anyways, it was when we respond to a non-criminal, just mental health crisis episode, and we end up using force, that force, by that Ninth Circuit decision, was deemed excessive. So if I show up and I have a citizen in crisis and I go to assess whether they're, 5150, and we all know kind of that gross criteria, right? Danger to self, others gravely disabled. And I go up and I'm there for no crime at all. And let's say I'm in someone's living room to do a welfare check, and next thing you know, it turns into a fight. He or she doesn't want to go with the, hey man, next thing you know, I gotta put my hands to try to control them or let alone protect myself, and I use force. If I'm there for a non-criminal act, we're not covered under qualified immunity. Does that make sense? So we could legitimately be there doing our job, but if we're not there for a criminal offense and we use force, then we're not covered with our qualified immunity. So then that deputy gets the complaint of excessive force, or he or she is sued, they can be held personally liable for that.
The only thing I'll say with that is there's different legal opinions on that, including the law firm that represents the statewide law enforcement associations who disagrees with that interpretation.
What would
There's
be?
always a variety of legal
No,
opinions.
what
on
would
different
be
cases.
another, if
On
I'm
different-
missing something in the way I'm interpreting it, please give me, how is it else being interpreted?
It's a complicated story, and I'll explain it because I'm chair of the Sheriff's Community Review Commission. So I
Okay.
know this issue in detail, a lot of detail.
Yeah,
more than I
we're
thought
still
I'd ever
working,
work.
we're still working through it.
And I know,
Yeah.
I agree, and that
And-
court case is still working through, potentially all the way up to the Supreme Court.
And let me say this, it's not like we're looking for a reason, patrol sergeants, watch commanders, that are gonna make that call, whether we dispatch deputies. It's not like we're looking for a way not to respond, quite the opposite. If we have any little way that's gonna give us that legal coverage, we wanna go and help.
And I get that part, I'm not questioning that part.
Yeah, yeah.
And even Sheriff Cooper has made it clear lately that the change in policy around mental health is not really specifically anymore just because of Scott v. Smith. There's a lot of other issues. Now,
I'd be
with a
curious
lot
to
of-
hear what the other issues are, because I'm not familiar with, what would prevent us, other than the fact that we potentially lose qualified immunity for doing our jobs, what would be another reason that we wouldn't wanna
Well, what it really
respond?
boils down to, and I've learned a lot about this, is that law enforcement for too long was expected to respond to all mental health calls. That's not your all primary responsibility, but that's what it's built to for a long time. Our county now has county wellness response teams
Yeah.
and other resources.
988.
That give and 988, that give our county other opportunities for handling mental health calls. I think that's a really good move in the right direction. Free your deputies and officers up to focus on what you need to do. When it's just a mental health call without any danger to individuals or whatever, that's what the county wellness response teams are, and it's a perfect response.
And those referrals are being made,
Yeah,
right? You're right, we were the catch-all to everything.
yeah, you were.
And then when we realized, whoa, this isn't really our expertise, we then tried another program that was proving to be successful, was our CIT program. County clinician partnered with a deputy with some extra training in those types of calls. And we were finding that being very successful. But again, hence this decision, and the sheriff going, whoa, wait a minute, my deputies could be liable that lose qualified immunity. He had to make a hard call there, because he's gotta protect his people, not that, and also that balance of the community as well. And we're still working through it. But from a field level, those calls just aren't, oh, there's no crime, we're not even, we'll work those and work them, and we will try to find a way to still respond to where we're still being covered, if that makes sense.
It does. And I want to respect the changes that the sheriff has made, at the same time, don't agree with it all.
Yeah.
But I think the big point I would make is, he's made it real clear with our commission, and at least publicly, that it's not just about Scott B. Smith anymore.
Okay.
It's about what the community needs in the whole bit. And again, I'll just point out, there are really very legal opinions about Scott B. Smith.
Yeah.
I would disagree with the interpretation, and I read that case in detail
I
to
have-
really understand that.
I'm no lawyer, I read it multiple times, but it's pretty, none of us up here do not wanna help people that are in mental crisis. We wanna do our job to help people. But it's like, ooh, we've been going to welfare checks and 5150 calls since the start of the sheriff's department.
And before.
And then, with this decision, if there's more to it, I'd be curious to kind of understand it. But apparently the interpretation that the sheriff's going off of and what the legal's given him, he's chosen to make this policy change.
Sure.
So, but
It's a complicated issue with a lot of varying opinions.
certainly not black and white. Certainly not black and white. And that's why we put a lot of trust in our watch commanders and sergeants to make those decisions. But I can assure you, we're defaulting more towards helping people than not helping people.
And I know you are, not,
Yeah. No, and I
not
appreciate
that
it.
at all.
Yeah, no, we could talk, I'd be interested to talk more in your experiences with your involvement in it.
Don't you think the sheriff's department, are they training the new cadets coming out of the academy and updating the training for the officers that respond to these mental crisis situations? I mean, an officer shows up in a uniform, and sometimes that's all it takes.
That's it. I won't call it a phenomenon, but there's actually, I'm gonna coin my partner in my central division, Lieutenant Masagley said, there's something called suicide by cop.
Yes.
People actually know that, so just the mere presence of us could spark a violent confrontation. But I can assure you, the training as far as what we get now in the academies is far more than what I got in '94. So we're talking things like de-escalation, how we can, effectively communicate with people in crisis, but we're nowhere near the experts like our county clinicians are. But we do get that extra training. So,
I'll just point out real quickly, kind of a last point. In our commissions and our hearings, we've heard from plenty of people, especially the parents of children who have been experiencing mental health issues, some pretty strong ones, who have praised and really relied upon sheriff's deputies and law enforcement who responded to calls, handled it properly and really well, and there's been a lot of praise for them. So that can work as well, but the entire expectation of expecting law enforcement to show up to all mental health calls, that really needed to change. And we're lucky in this county, because not every county in the
Yeah.
state has the resources this county has.
and now that you put it that way, it makes more sense that it just strictly isn't or shouldn't be based on that decision.
Right.
It's trying to basically promote to our community, hey, there's other resources available to you.
It's an evolution.
Yeah.
That's why I brought it up for that.
Yeah.
Again, any court case has a
Million
multitude of legal
interpretations to it,
opinions,
yeah. Yeah.
on either side of the issue.
Yeah.
But it's about the back, even personally, an evolution of realizing how mental health calls should be handled going forward. Where it works for the sheriff's office to be involved and where not.
No, yeah, it's good. Any other thoughts on that? Am I missing it? I appreciate it, really do. Any other topics that have come up? I know in a previous meeting, there was a topic of ICE, and depending on what your view is of how we as local law enforcement are bound by Senate Bill 54 that prevents us from assisting, intervening, or being part of any illegal immigration enforcement. So, any questions on that? Because some people, depending on what your view is on it, some people are like, why aren't the sheriffs doing this? Or why are the sheriffs doing that? So, politics aside, we're bound by legislation that prevents us from being involved in illegal immigration.
It's a federal issue. I mean, you guys aren't really involved in it at all.
Yeah. We'll open it up to any general questions. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for the hot team. When you go into an encampment, do you offer resources? And if you do you have clinicians there? How does that work?
Absolutely. So any individual that we contact, have any type of enforcement action on, is provided with resources. We have partnerships with COEWO, with Department of Housing and Homelessness Services. And so we will try to get any type of resources we can to the individuals, day in, day out, that we're there. It's difficult because there are, for the most part, the coal mine here didn't close down, right? Which created a bunch of unemployed people. What we have is a lot of people that might be resource resistant, and so we try to give resources, and they're not taking them. It's always wonderful when they do. Give you an example, we were clearing out an individual yesterday that we had housing for 3 times. 3 times we were able to get this individual into housing, and every time he didn't want to be there, and so he left. And so it just becomes whack-a-mole a lot of times with a lot of these individuals. But we always provide resources and try to hook them up with clinicians. Thank you.
It's very rare when you're gonna have someone standing on a corner or out in a field that is in crisis, that doesn't have the opportunity to better his or her situation. Does that make sense?
What I've noticed too is with a lot of these folks, you say resource resistant, which is a fabulous term for it. The folks that don't want to be there, that don't wanna be homeless, that don't wanna be out panhandling, typically, they're not there very long.
Yeah.
I met one young lady years ago that she was always really aware of not stepping out into traffic and this and that, and I was like, hey, you know what, you never are a problem, you know, and you're never bothering anybody. What's the deal? And she's like, I don't wanna be here. I'm trying to get a couple bucks so I can get a hotel, but I don't plan on staying homeless. And it was within 3 months, I never saw her again. She got the heck out of there. She got out of the situation. So the folks that do want those resources, they're out there, but they have to take advantage of them. You can't make them, want it. They have to want it first. They have to be willing to take those things and make those steps. And there's just, unfortunately, there's just many that don't. They wanna go and do what they're doing, where they're doing it, and with whom they're doing it. And they wanna continue to do that until that changes.
They have to be willing too, because a lot of those services come with some type of condition, right? And it's not just an animal condition, because usually a lot of those will allow, they're a little more sympathetic to dogs and animals. But when you can't come in and continuously use drugs and alcohol, and there's conditions with those programs, they don't want to abide by those conditions. So.
I would say probably 80% of the people that I came in contact when I was in patrol, if their dog could not go with them, their dog came first. They're not going anywhere unless their animal can go with them. So that stops just immediately a lot of people from getting any type of help. So.
Yes, sir.
You brought up ice, I'm sorry I was late, so I missed some stuff. I understand that you're bound by 54, and I completely, I got a question that involved the Hispanic area around here, and there, do you, see how I phrase this right, do you not go to these mariachi bands at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, when they're 2 blocks away and my windows are rattling? Do you guys not go there because you don't wanna be involved with the Hispanic community?
No.
Because they were tuning up today, there's gonna be a big band in there tonight, or tomorrow night, or the next night, in the next 2 nights, Friday, Saturday nights. They rock. I mean, it's noisy, we can't sleep, and I mean, how can you be 3/4 of a mile away and rattling the windows? And that's what I was wondering. So, like I said, do you guys not go there because of your?
That has nothing to do with immigration status at all, because let me make it very clear, regardless of your immigration status, if there's a crime or issue happening, we're gonna go. But I know, and that's been a challenge out here forever, and we'll address that, but I wanna make this very clear. We're not hands off. If there's crime being done, we don't care about illegal immigration status. We're gonna respond to it in that aspect. As far as those loud parties or those large events, those have been going on for quite a few years. and I'm very familiar with them, because as, when I was a pop officer, when I worked as a supervisor, those are complex. I think those can fall under more of a continuous pop problem, i.e. project, where maybe some of these deputies can go out and try to make contact with those land and property owners and try to levy some type of fine against them. I don't know, but your responding patrol deputies, when you call at 10:30 or 11 at night, are gonna go out there. They're not going, they're going. Usually typically.
Seems like, because it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And it might be tied up
Yeah.
or something like that, or
No.
something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem, Friday afternoon, one day, just down there at the gas station, I filled up with fuel at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and this guy got a pickup, old gray Dodge pickup, Hispanic, and he got his mariachi music pulled in, went in, got a 12-pack of beer, music playing loud, and I happened to pull out,
Yeah.
and he did this behind me until I was able to get out of his way,
Yeah.
and then he blew right through the archway.
Yeah.
These guys, I'm telling you, they run this part of town with impunity. They own a lot of this town, and they enforce that on us by just doing whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me jumping
No,
in,
go for it.
just,
What you just brought up. The thing with the music is, at a lot of these events going on, you've got underage drinking. I know there was a house over by McClellan, large property, I believe a pop team, somebody came in there because enough neighbors were playing, and you're funny. Cause you'll have 100 cars down the street with no curb cut. You got the music playing, typically there's alcohol sales going on to minors, they're throwing garbage all up and down the street. Is there any way that code enforcement could possibly come in? And it's usually the same houses, especially where I live, real in the queue. And a lot of these individuals, they're renting their pastors out. They're renting their pastors out. You got 200 people showing up, and same thing, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I've gone out, I've confronted a few people that park in front of my driveway. I go,
And they're insanely loud. I mean, this isn't a house party. They're insanely loud.
I have to,
For my
I have to
house.
echo what these guys are saying too, cause it happens out here where I live in southwest Rolinda a lot. And it's very, impacts my life in a negative way, cause it goes on and on, all, late into the night.
We love
And
to.
they just, my neighbor, one of them, he lives right next door, he actually cussed me out and told me to, shut up and fuck off and all that stuff. I mean, they're not very good neighbors.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we got
And,
a terrible one in our, he's a bully of it, he's attacked one of our neighbors. And
So-
there's still, this happened a while back, he was arrested and nothing became of it yet.
Yeah.
Big old stitches in his head, I took the guy to the hospital, and, nothing's happened. And, it's because he does what he wants to do with impunity.
Yeah,
And
I think they're,
we live on between Q and U and on West Second. We're on the only part of that whole street that doesn't have speed bumps. Look out, here we come. And I see a couple of my other neighbors around here that they live on the same street and they're dealing with the same thing.
So
How
this
fast can
is,
you go at midnight, 11 o'clock at night? And it's beyond ridiculous. And not a reason. Yeah, we've become south of the border.
Sir.
And like I said, there was no,
So this is exactly what the pop team's for. So these are the things where if you have a house number, reach out to the North Pop, let us know. Keep on calling, cause the calls for service help us get code involved, right? I have no issue going out there, getting code, seeing if there's trash, seeing if there's stage. We can set up, we can watch them, and if we can find them, we will. But we have to know, not just that it's happening, I need to know where it's happening, so that we can fix it.
Second Street between Q and U.
I'd like to add to all what my neighbor is speaking about here. We've been dealing with since 2017.
Right behind his house.
I know the phone number by heart for the non-emergency SAC sheriff. I'm hopeful with all the resources that are here in front of us today, that you can help us.
and that's what I'm.
We have called
Yeah.
are too busy to respond. I have been told that.
Well, here's.
I have been told since 2017, I have records of all this. You need to fill out a citizen's arrest form.
Yeah.
I have told them every time, bring it to my house. Nobody's ever showed up. 7701, 7501, 7339 are the addresses on Second Street. They have the right to have a party, just like my neighbors have a right to our peace and quiet. We have to come up with some kind of middle ground. We can't, because you go to their houses, they know hablo inglés. Okay? My wife has kept me from going to their houses because I don't want to end up in jail. Because that's how all do. I have dealt with PUP. Nothing's happened. I have emailed code enforcement to where my computer won't send any more emails. Nothing has happened.
This
What is the
place
process?
that he's talking about,
What is
they
the process?
pile so much garbage up on their place that
You
when
wanna
it
see the
floods,
pictures?
it runs down
You wanna see
into
the
the
videos?
neighbors. There's garbage all over their pasture now, and now it runs past his house, and it runs past my house.
Yeah. I've dealt with everybody from code enforcement to the water department, the sanitation department. I had one person in code enforcement say, well, the guy that lives there has a big family, so he's gonna have some parties. That's fine, but turn it off at 8 o'clock at night.
So that's the hard part, is like the time.
I'm sitting in my house, I have to turn my television up to not hear it, and I'm a quarter of a mile away from it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm at an Aerosmith concert. It's not a party.
Yeah.
These people rent their properties out, and they have these parties. The one we had last Saturday night, there was over 100 cars here. Now, here is a side effect of that. Go out Sunday morning, the stop signs on Second Street are all knocked down. Saturday night, we hear cars racing up and down our street. There's ATVs racing up and down our street. There's beer bottles everywhere. They're all drinking and driving. You know, I know CHP, that's their favorite ticket. Come ride them. We can't get any response.
Well,
Since 2017, I haven't seen the sheriff come out one time. The guy said, I told him to turn it down. He left, 10 minutes later, the music back up.
So the hard part with that is usually when those call, we usually start to get the loud music
Well, I know
calls.
it's not a shooting, so you guys
Right.
are busy somewhere else.
So when we get the loud party calls, they're usually between 8:30 and 1 o'clock in the morning, right?
Right.
That's right between the exchange of day shift or a swing shift in Graves, and that is probably our most busiest time.
Right.
The loud party, or the loud 415
I
party,
know
or
that's
whatever,
a
that's
low
gonna be
priority.
it's gonna be a priority 5. So
Right.
everything that comes out above that, unfortunately, is gonna take more time. So by the time the deputies at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning actually get to where they're dispatched to that call,
Yeah.
a lot of it's either gone, you guys are sleeping, they try to make
I've
contact.
gotten a call at 4 o'clock in the morning
Right.
from a deputy going, hey, is the party still going?
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Can I jump in? Obviously, we can clearly say that's not gonna be a regular patrol response. They don't have the
Right, I
resources.
understand.
But like I described, all the support teams, as I called them.
Yeah.
That's where they're gonna come in. And I'm gonna spitball this with the whole room. I'm gonna take my partner's idea. This is a POP project. This is a
We've
POP
emailed.
project. Well, let me
We've emailed.
finish. I'm asking you to give us a shot.
Okay.
I'm asking, what year is it, 2025? All right, give us a shot, because I have confidence in this team behind me. We're gonna take that information and we're gonna coordinate, we'll give it some fancy operation name, Operation, Mariachi. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna coordinate resources with our CHP partners, with our code partners, talking with our community prosecutor, and we're gonna come up with a plan to address those when they're happening or right before they're happening with a large response. That's my plan, or that's what I'm thinking. Because I don't wanna get into what we can and cannot do from a normal patrol officer's standpoint, because what's that gonna be? Hey, sir, ma'am, please turn your music down. If you don't, I'm gonna come back. That's how we traditionally would handle loud party calls. And then sometimes, well, aren't you supposed to measure the decibels and all that stuff? We're not handing those decibel meters out
Yeah, I have.
to do that. But what I will tell you this, where's that decibel meter gonna come into play? Operation
It's a
Mariachi.
civil.
No, let me
I'm
finish.
told it's a civil thing, and I can go and sue these people.
Well, we're gonna see if
What am
we
I gonna
can,
get out of
we're
that?
gonna see if we can do some enforcement action,
I would love it.
okay? We're
You
gonna
ask us, here's something I wanna propose to you. You ask us to come ride along with you guys.
Yeah,
I come from a family of law enforcement. I'm gonna ask you guys, come ride along with us.
yeah, I like it.
I like that.
We will.
And yes, sir, you've got photos, videos.
Oh, everything.
We want it. We'll
The
build a
answer-
case.
The answer to the question is yes, I want all of them. When 6, 7 of you raise your hand and this is a large issue, it's not one person with like one house, this is obviously hitting everyone here.
It's
So-
widespread,
so
and they move
we're gonna
around
take
to
this
avoid
serious.
law enforcement.
Okay, cause I've gone to these with me and one other guy, and there's 800 people, and we have to park 400 yards out and walk in through a sea of 500 people, and it's dark out. That's my problem, it's not yours, but it's a hard issue from a patrol standpoint when I went out to these calls, to where it takes us 20 minutes to find out who's in charge, and that's even if he is in charge. So that it's not a patrol thing, let the POP team handle it, and we'll do everything we possibly can.
And I'm not shamelessly plugging this man, but this guy, he knows what he's talking about. So he's gonna be our case agent of Operation Mariachi.
This is driving
I
by.
feel like we're doing a press conference right now.
That's
Well, we
2
need
o'clock
to
in the
have more,
morning.
like, media coverage of
I'm
this kind of
telling you, sir, I've been out here well before 2017, it's been a problem. I know, I have all the confidence.
I think it's time to do something.
It's time for.
These amount of resources,
I
something
agree.
should be able to be done.
But remember, these resources too is countywide, so it's not just your district, they cover all 4 districts north
I
of the river.
understand.
So there's a lot more of the community that also
Everybody that
they're
I've
working on.
reached out to has
And-
always brought up that it's.
But here's the deal,
man-
I'm not gonna get
power
into
problem.
what we have and what we don't have, I'm not gonna get into excuses. I can tell you now that we're gonna do a coordinated effort to try to address this issue.
Can I add to that, like, in addition to the music, there's also a huge problem with people setting off explosives all year round,
Oh, yeah.
all night long,
That's normal.
all year round. It's out there where I live, a lot of it's happening in North Sac, and I can hear it, cause I live right across the field.
If that's a
But it happens
byproduct of all
around-
this stuff, we'll lump it all in.
I think it actually does tie together somehow, there's some connections there. And I have some theories about it, why it's happening, but you know, it never happened up till it started happening like about 4 years ago, and it got worse and worse.
So with, let's say, 3 probation officers, at least 12 deputies, at least probably 2 code enforcement officers, with at least 2 CHP officers, with all that, and that's just on the minimum small side. Do you think we could coordinate a pretty good plan to rattle some cages?
I've got more friends that wear badges, I can call them in too, so.
So what is the
we can
process?
get as many bodies as we.
You get the complaint, you send an officer out there, if possible, you find the person, you cite them, and then what happens after that?
That's where I want to be able to consult with Ron Lithicum and our county prosecutors to make sure we already have that going into that. Because I call it leverage. We need the leverage. I need to be able to say, hey, this is what you're found guilty of, here's your citation, or here's your civil penalty. What we can do through our community prosecutors, we'll have all those questions answered prior to us launching that operation.
So it becomes a legal problem, because you go out, you cite them, the deputy DA, he does his thing, and the guy says, $500, I made 20,000 last night, I'll do it again.
Yeah, but
Then-
when we
then
start
we
towing
reapproach it.
cars
Yeah.
and doing all that, once we start hitting this,
Yeah.
and once we start to tow cars and cite and find the property owners, once the process starts and we don't stop till it's fixed, or we put a huge like dent in it, that's what's gonna, it's not just the citation,
It's not
we
just
have
one
more
and done.
tools on our tool belt that we can use. And
But that's the start, the fight.
Yeah.
Sir?
Thank you. Since the problem at Ground Zero has been largely mitigated, it feels like that problem has shifted to the corner of Dry Creek and Curve Bridge Road.
Ground
Underneath-
Zero, fill me in.
Ground Zero is where the homeless population
Elkhorn.
largely lives.
Elkhorn and what?
Elkhorn Boulevard, it's in between Roland and Dry Creek.
So you have a new Ground Zero?
Yeah, so, the corner of, Dry Creek and,
Curve Bridge.
Curve Bridge Road, they're living underneath Curve Bridge itself. They're living, the problem is spreading south of Curve Bridge along the creek bed. It's on the, they're literally under the bridge on Dry Creek Road, right there where the old church used to be. They started that fire a couple weeks ago that, burned acres and acres. Lots of people are complaining about all the trash that's on Dry Creek right there. People are out there selling and buying drugs. It's a real problem.
Sounds like a good pop project / homeless outreach team project.
There you go.
So what do we wanna do first? Project, Mariachi or, Operation Curve Bridge?
All right,
I don't mean, I'm not trying to be, I mean, these are serious issues, but I'm giving you serious responses of what the resources we have here and what, that's, exactly what you're describing is what these ladies and gentlemen do. And I, yeah.
There's about 3 or 4 Mariachi houses, well, at least 4 of them.
Okay, let's start with one at first.
I got that, so do I.
Can I say
Right.
something?
Yeah.
I work for Kaiser Rosa. I work the school shift. And when I come home, I work every weekend.
Mhm.
I come home to the drunks, and I'm up against them on my way home. I get home at 1:00. So it makes for a difficult trip home. I have a lot of close calls. People follow me, people trying to run me off the road. So if we can attack this and have a resolution, it will help people like me that are coming home from my shift at the hospital.
Maybe we'll talk to someone about some speed bumps too.
Yeah, we love those.
They put them on all of West Second except our block.
Yeah.
We'll have to take a look.
Well, there's a ratio of how many, we just don't have that many, everybody's got 3, 4, 5, 6 acres.
Yeah.
But, I own 2 parcels, he owns 2, and the ratio is.
If you give us the okay, we'll put them in. We have the equipment.
Yeah.
Well, let me, I don't wanna be respectful of people's time, cause we're going over an hour, but this is serious, and I can assure you, we will come up with something. Get some good contact number, we'll have you be our point of contact for this, if that's okay.
Sure.
And we'll link you up with,
We're gonna talk right after this.
yeah. And then, sir, what was your name?
John.
John.
Mhm.
And as far as Curve Bridge, we'll hook you up with,
I can do that, I'll see.
Perfect, yeah.
Actually, Curve Bridge is more of the Sac County parts of North.
It's a
We can work
mixture,
with
it's a
that.
mixture, it's a mixture of properties there between county parks, there's a private property owner where they have embedded their encampment on private property,
Right,
kind of
see,
moving it around.
I'm president of the Ruined Alberta Historical Society. We're one of the farm out there. So dealing with the homeless out there is a common practice.
Well, it's like-
I deal with Liz Bellis directly.
What about Alberta, when's that, Alberta and 28th? That was always a hot spot right there in that creek.
That's still county rangers property in there, and,
Because
things
I
are
myself
changing.
have cleaned up numerous, I filled my truck up, we got a 40-yard dumpster at the Dry Creek Ranch House, and myself, Randy, who does the trailhead cleanup, we filled that dump, I get pictures.
Yeah, I'm actually,
Right of Curve Bridge.
well, I'm actually excited because this has been a problem that's going on for a long time. And I think we'll be able to come up with some creative ways to put some pressure on these property owners. And, we'll get the community, a lot more aware of
And
it.
absolutely what John was talking about, the property where the fire was,
Yeah.
that's, cause the initial thought on that was that it was started on county property. And it was essentially started on private property. And it's being resolved right now. From what I understand, the county, the park rangers have been out there, they run a drone over that property.
Mhm.
And that's become their priority 1, is to get that homeless count. And we were under the assumption it was a caretaker on the property.
Yeah.
And we found out later
I don't feel sorry for fire, they get paid to sleep on duties.
The resources involved in that was uneven. And it was over somebody's welding out there on a farm.
Loud music, mariachi, curb bridge, anything else we're missing?
Explosions.
Explosions.
These are not just firecrackers or.
Yeah, they're
you know,
mortars
making-
and everything.
These guys
Yeah.
are making homemade bombs.
Yeah.
And I've actually contacted ATF and told them about it, because I think they're making homemade bombs. They rattle the windows and they're
Call
about.
those in.
Pardon me?
Call them in.
I have been, I stopped doing that because I just got tired of it. I mean, it never stopped. I
Well, it's
called-
generating a stat, it's generating another call for service that will bring attention to that area. It may not get an immediate response, but when we're crunching numbers and doing data, it's gonna show, whoa, that area is this, so it directs
All right.
resources.
We'll just keep calling them.
Yeah, keep calling.
And the more neighbors you can get the call and reported as well, the more that call, the more it gets
Yeah,
noticed.
I tried to get more people involved too, and I don't know how many really did, but,
All right, let's take one more.
Nick, may I help you?
Yeah.
Real quick on that. Just to jump in on the importance of calling in. When we do eventually on the POP team or HOT team get these follow-up calls or the complaint of the address, even if 2 patrol deputies go out and contact a person, it gets recorded in that event. That person's name gets added. They get associated with that address. They go out again either later that night, later that week, they identify someone else. They attach another car. And then when we're tasked with, hey, follow up with this house for these loud parties, hundreds of people, we can pull up all the history at that address when we're sitting in there in the morning at a round table, just discussing all this, trying to build that plan of action like we were talking about. And we can start getting an idea of who might be at that property. Hey, this person lives there, they're on probation. I now have legal standing to walk onto that property whether they want to or not. So that's the huge thing about where I just ask, please keep calling. It's not to make you guys frustrated or say, yeah, I swear it's gonna change, keep calling. It helps us on the back end to build that case and make it more effective so that when we do go out, it fixes it.
the thing is, you have to know the address, so that means you gotta get up out of bed and go down there and get the address.
No, we're not asking you to do that. Just
Um,
give us a general area.
And then,
and then-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and then there's ways, we have drones now that we can utilize, so
That
if
would be cool.
if it becomes a real big issue and then it turns into a pop issue, right? Where we have to dedicate some more resources to it, not just a normal response from patrol, then we can utilize the drone and stuff like that. If we have a general area where it's happening.
I was hoping maybe you could use the drones on these guys setting off the explosives, because, I know it's hard to catch them in the act.
We did it on the 4th of July, it was highly successful. I mean, Antelope and Orangeville were Mogadishu there for a while, but, except the helicopter didn't go down, thank God. But, we were utilizing the drones to get a lot of good intel.
You know what, I have no problem with people setting off explosives on 4th of July and New
We
Year's.
just want them to do it in
It's just all
Orangeville.
year round, all night long, and I think they're doing it to drive people out,
Yeah.
because it never happened before. I've lived on that street for 55 years.
Yeah.
And I've lived in this town for 65 years, so I know a little bit about this
Oh, I
town.
know.
And just to add to that, we do on a daily basis, when we get calls for service, whether shots fired or an explosive device goes off, we do utilize our drones, because we have drones in the field usually nightly, at least one in the county. So we do utilize drones. Instead of going to that address and checking, we will launch drones and go and have them do their surveillance first
That is
before we
awesome,
respond.
and you know what, I forgot to mention the gunfire part, because the gunfire and the explosives are kinda like hand in hand, they happen a lot simultaneously.
Right.
And there's people just shooting guns in the air all the time. It's pretty crazy and it's dangerous, somebody's gonna get hurt. You know, whether by accident or on purpose, I don't know, but, I know it has definitely, impacted my quality of life in a negative way, big time over the last 4 years.
Yeah, I wanna
And,
move.
You what?
I wanna move.
Do you?
I thought about it too, but I think
We're
it's
looking
worth.
at Tennessee.
All right, let's take a couple more, we'll get out of here.
I just wanna invite all of you officers, if you're in the neighborhood next Tuesday, National Night Out at the library, stop by from 6 to 8. We got Nathan's Hot Dogs, we got watermelon, I'll give you a cold one, water,
I volunteered.
We'll be out
I didn't
there.
hear that last part.
Some water.
Yeah, stop by at the library and we'll all be out there.
Hey, I appreciate it. There's been a lot of good dialogue. Please tell your friends to come. Hopefully I'll be able to get the next date out to you all. But again, I love the conversations we're having. And I can assure you, we will put some attention to what we talked about tonight. So again, we'll be hanging out if you wanna talk to us offline. But thank you for coming.
Thank you.